Actually, the first time I visited the Hanok village, I wore hanbok. Don't think we have really any traditional housing. If we do have any, it's just, I guess, really old. 안녕하세요. 저는 미국에서 온 사바나씨와 반갑습니다. I came to Korea August of 2019, so I've been here about 2 years. Right now, I live in an apartment. When I first came to Korea, I actually lived in a sort of apartment. It was above some restaurant and it was hidden, so you didn't know that it was actually there. But now I live in an actual apartment complex. This is from my experience from living in Alabama. We don't have the ondo. We don't have floor heating. It was my first time. Also, sometimes you need to turn on the gas before you use the stove or turn on the heating before you use hot water. That was new for me as well. And also, in Korea, you use the keypads to get into your apartment. We don't use this at all, really. You always have to carry your key. So if you lose your key, you have to break into your apartment. I love not having to carry a key around. The biggest thing for me was definitely not having to carry my keys around, because in Korea you can just use the keypad, and I know when I carry groceries it's just very difficult to have to find your keys in your purse, but here you can just put in your keypad and it's simple. It makes me also feel safer in a way too, because you're not worried about trying to find your keys. You can always change your password again if you want to. You don't have to change the whole lock and get a new key. I used to live near Jeonju, which has a popular Hanok mall that they are just very pretty. Yeah, the roof and everything. Usually the Hanok are very open inside. The doors are usually floor to ceiling. They slide, and the floor has the ondo, because many times when you go into a Hanok house, you sit on the floor, things like that. Really? Do you know where? Georgia. Ah, that's beside where I'm from. Huh. I wonder if it's near Duluth, because the Korean embassy is in Atlanta, and above that there is like a Koreatown. And actually I went there once to go to a Blackpink concert. And when I drove there, all the stores had Korean signs. So it felt almost like I went to Korea, because I didn't see English anymore. I think this is really cool, because I think there are a lot of Korean communities, and I think that sort of style of accommodation can help them feel at home even if they're not in Korea. I want to say that I don't want to think that it's hard to imagine, because ideally in America you want to believe that everywhere is welcome and anything is possible, and that everywhere can be a mix of different cultures. I know many places in America, like especially in New York, there are a lot of turning into like a foreigner town, and it's really cool. I guess what they call it, the Korean wave, is very big. I mean, I think that's good. Not just K-pop, but everything else. I know for me, I didn't know a lot about Asia while I was living in America, but now because of Korea and K-pop, almost everyone is able to learn about it, because you hear songs on the radio. It's great that everyone can learn, and that if you're from Korea, then you're now able to feel, hopefully, more connected. Yeah, so I guess my number one would probably BTS also. I think I have seen them, maybe in Jeonju. It's crazy the type of influence they have. Actually, recently I found out that RM, he made a book become popular, and it's like a really old book, 20 years old. Because he likes it, maybe it became popular. It's amazing how one group can have so much influence on the world around them. I haven't. Someday I can stay in do a Hanok stay. Because I'm in Korea, it's a way to experience Korean culture, and a way I can get out of my comfort zone and experience something new. My very first impression was, I guess it just kind of felt like I was going back in time, and it made me think that maybe it was this way a long time ago, because it's a very old part of Korean culture. Actually, the first time I visited the Hanok village, I wore hanbok and I walked around the Hanok mall. It was really cool. I really like colors. It's usually like a yellow, orange, maybe sometimes. I think looking up and you see the roof, then it's really pretty, and the sides of the roof, sometimes there are little flower designs in the corners. Each one has its own personality. I think Hanuks are very eco-friendly because they're made out of wood and dirt, and instead of nails, they actually use wood as nails to help build the Hanuk. Hanuks are actually scientific because they have the ondol system and the floor is heated. You would think that you would get burned by it, but you don't get burned, surprisingly. I think it's really good. I believe it's a lot easier to heat up the house. It's also nice just to have the floor heated. I know sometimes even people dry their clothes on the floor sometimes. Hanuks, each one has its own personality. They all look different. Actually, I visited a museum and I saw all the different styles that they have, and I noticed a lot of the differences are usually in the roof. I think it's turned into sort of art, if it was always art. Some differences I've noticed between housing in America and then a Hanuk house. Korea is, I don't think I've ever seen a two-story Hanuk. Usually it's just one floor, maybe because of the ondol. That's one thing I've noticed. We don't have an ondol at all. That's another thing. And the doors, many times the doors are floor to ceiling and you slide the doors. Hanuk house is very traditional, but I don't think we have really any traditional housing in America. I think they're all kind of similar. If we do have any traditional housing, it's just, I guess, really old. I do really like the appearance on the outside. I like how the roof has the plates and they're stacked on top of each other and everything, and they're very pretty. And the sides and the corners, usually there's some sort of design. So I wish many more houses in America had more personality. Many times they have to be kind of boring because everyone in the neighborhood has to agree on it. So one house cannot really stand out. I wish it was more common for things to stand out. Now that I'm living in Seoul, you see a lot of apartment buildings, but when you go to a Hanuk village and you see Hanuk beauty of it, I think it's just really, it makes you feel like you go back in time and just helps you appreciate Korean culture a lot more. If you liked the video today, please like and subscribe. Thank you. See you next time.